Here they are coming.
Yes, hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, hello.
Good morning.
Thanks. Traka, you are also here. Hi. Great to see you. Hello. Thanks for joining. So welcome. I think we are all here, right? The Onics team is also here. Amazing. So welcome to HackLights, our online series showcasing hackathon prototypes, and live by the motto Hack it, ship it, show it. I'm Sabine and I'm your host, and it's a great pleasure to welcome three of the amazing winner teams of the GenAI Zürich Hackathon 2026. These are HomeMatch. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Hello, Maxim. Then we HomeMatch solved a challenge from Apify. Then we have GoCalma Redact and hit the code with the challenge from Swiss startup GoCalma. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, everyone.
And Abdul, hi, nice to meet you. Nice to see you again. And we have Onyx from Spain with a corporate challenge from Siemens. Good morning. Hi, guys.
Hi, good morning.
Hey, hi. Great to see you again. So, and it's another pleasure to welcome my wonderful guest moderator. It's Reto Lämmler. And Reto is a Swiss entrepreneur and built his career on a simple but powerful idea that great products need to be tested with real users. And after 2 startup stumbles and a role as VP product at Doodle, Reto founded Testing Time, which grew into Europe's go-to platform for UX research participant recruiting. So I just used it for my thesis some months ago, and it worked perfectly, Reto. So, and with over 1 million users, Reto sold Testing Time to Norstedts, and he is joining today. And you are shaped by Silicon Valley and raised on a farm, and now you are grounded in Basel, what I heard. And Reto has spent 2 decades on user-centered design, and he is also active as a business angel and board member, and lectures human-computer interaction design, and also provides vibe code workshops. So I think he is the right man for you 3 teams to give some advice on UX. And now over to you, Reto.
Good morning. Thank you. I can tell Claude remembers way too much about me for this very long bio. Just for the records, I'm no longer with Testing Time, but I'm heavily involved in vibe coding projects, and I can just urge, the more we vibe code, the less people seem to test their product for a good UX. So everyone just builds and ships, but doesn't test it. So I just think it's also a good moment to bring that spirit back a bit. We're gonna go through 3 winners. Congratulations also from my side. They will kick off with a short demo. It's always better to just show it than to have long slides and talk about it. Then Sabine will kind of moderate a bit about the making of, the secret sauce, what's the magic behind it. So why did you make it to the winners? And of course, I'm also curious, it's a super hot topic at the moment. Companies are switching over to including agents for their work, whether it's a Q&A agent or a product manager agent. So how much did you use humans versus agents in this project? Then, what was the main challenge overall? Some questions and comments from the audience. And if I see a good fit, I will also comment on some UX things, but that's more an optional thing, I would say. So I think we kick off now with HomeMatch. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Maxim.
Yeah,
Cool.
and maybe some before we start, because we have to protect a bit of a data privacy, some information. The session is being streamed live on YouTube and on LinkedIn. If you would like to be seen everywhere, then you can keep your camera on. If not, please switch it off. And please be so kind and drop your questions into the chat. that we can then ask the teams the questions. That would be great. And maybe some stats before, we jumped a bit early. For the GenAI Zürich Hackathon, it happened last week. It was a hybrid concept for 2 weeks built online, and then a short list of teams could advance to the on-site phase. So we had you are seeing here now the 3 teams out of the top 10 from 483 participants from 45 countries. And now, Maxim, the stage is yours.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense to first actually say what we did and what actually a hackathon is. So we sat down and me, Prakar, and also Rajit, we first started off by figuring out a problem that we actually want to solve, and we tackled the Appify challenge. So the Appify challenge didn't really give any boundaries or guardrails on anything. So we started off by actually being left in complete muddy waters, trying to figure out what we want to do and where we want to go. And we started off by thinking about the property market in Switzerland, because actually one of the fathers was looking for an apartment to buy, and he was struggling quite a lot. And then we asked a lot of our other friends that were looking for apartments and houses that they want to buy in Zurich, and all of them ended up struggling quite a lot. So we ended up thinking of a solution that would actually tackle the time spent looking for an apartment and the effort that you have to put into it. So in a way, we have thousands of listings in one perfect match that we try to find for you. When you think about it, I think the main problem that we identified at the time was that people will spend hours and hours and hours looking through apartments and trying to find a match that would work for them. And also we found out that it was a very personal experience for everybody involved. So sometimes people would spend hours kind of just scrolling through Flatfox like this, trying to click through the apartments, then look through the images, figure out what is going on, find the location, go to Google Maps, find if there's parks nearby, if there's a school nearby for their kids, figure out if there's good lighting from the pictures, is there an actual view, some other things that are very hard to do, and a human needs to spend a lot of time doing them. And if it's not the right apartment, they'll just have to go back and do it all again. Some of our statistics said around 15 minutes were spent to 20 minutes were spent on one listing. And this is where we found, okay, that can be done by an agent in a way. So like an agent that can look through images, an agent that can find the nearby places, that can go through Google Maps with Appify in order to solve this problem. So this is where we integrated Appify. We thought of 3 key steps on how to proceed, which is first figuring out what you want. Maybe you're not even 100% sure what you would want to have. Maybe it's just important that you have a Starbucks nearby. Maybe it's something else. Then the second part is finding the top properties that actually already match you and seeing why they would match you according to the AI's logic. And finally, we also integrated directly into Flatfox Chrome extension. So if you were happy with the process of looking for an apartment, we can still speed it up inside of Flatfox itself. So we now have alpha going. The biggest part of it is that it's closed is because we're thinking about the scalability and the pricing of everything, including all the API costs and other things that we're incurring. So now I already described how a person is looking through an apartment. And the first step that you would have when you actually come onto our website is you would have a conversation where you'd figure out what exactly you need from your apartment. And once that is set in a more or less personal conversation as well, you can have different custom criteria and hard criteria. So obviously knowing where you want to buy an apartment, where what your budget is, how many rooms you have is quite normal. But then we also include these custom criteria that you can introduce yourself. So that's the main catch that we're trying to do here is go, okay, this is going to be personalized for you. After that, you can, for example, go to Flatfox and just directly analyze different properties and already get a score as to how well of a match this would be for you. So if you want to know why this is a good match for you, you can go directly into the full analysis of your house, your properties, the key takeaways, why this would actually work for you. So this is the main idea. Obviously, in the end, you can also have your top matches. So when you go here, you can find the top matches that would fit you and, can open them directly apply very quickly and easily if you're trusting our service enough to just instantly send a request as soon as it comes in. So that was the main idea. That was the demo of it. And it's obviously a work in progress, especially with figuring out how to make the agentic calls feasible for a larger audience and not just 10 alpha users that are kind of just going through everything. So yeah, thank you. Happy to take some questions right now as well.
Great. Can you share a bit about your stack, how you've built it?
Oh yeah, of course. So since this is a Chrome extension by itself, that's one part of the stack. So actually go to, I guess, Chrome extensions here. You can see that's one part that needed to be built. The usual build at hackathons, to make it quite simple, is using Supabase to create some accounts for people. So it's a service that gives you databases and authentication and all that kind of jazz. Then we have a backend server that is an AWS instance, just an elastic IP. I think it's a T3 small, probably it's around 2 gigabytes of RAM, nothing big. And this is the kind of computer that is working over time and receiving all the requests and then sending them out to the specific APIs, collecting everything. One of the stacks one of the big contributors that made it already more scalable is actually Federalist AI. So they're a startup that was at the GenAI Hackathon that provides inference for open source models. So we at some point, we start off by using Claude for most of it. And quite a naive approach was just calling Claude to do everything for you, do a deep research for every property. And if you have around 70,000 properties to analyze, at some point you just run out of money. So Federalist AI gives you open source inference without any limit. So that's really nice. The other thing is obviously a Next.js front end Vercel to deploy the website. That I would say that's like about the full stack, yeah.
And where came Epify in action here?
So Apify mainly was used actually because they have a service. So one of the Apify actors that they have actively on their website is a Google Maps scraper. So since people's requests might be very personal, and even if we try to pre-scrape and pre-analyze a lot of properties, you still need to find these very specific requirements that a user might have. And we use Apify actors to enrich the data once we realize that we can't fully service someone's desires for their properties, basically.
And Oleg is asking, Oleg was one of our valuable mentors during the hackathon. He's asking which open source LLM you've used on Federalist.
Oh, that's a good question. I've actually played around with a lot of different things. Since this is a Swiss market, you will have listings sometimes in English, sometimes in other languages. So we've used Qwen for the English properties. We used, I think, Qwen 90 billion was used there. But since the open source framework that we had didn't quite allow for vision models, we actually used Gemma for the image analysis. It's actually a fine-tuned Gemma model that has been actually somewhat trained on properties. Then we also used Mistral as a A/B test to see how good the outputs would be. And turns out Mistral is better when you have different languages. So not necessarily English, but if you have a German or French sentence somewhere in there, usually Mistral will understand it better than Qwen, which makes sense. Qwen was obviously partially trained on English language and then also Chinese. So can't expect it to do everything for you. So it would be those three models.
And I mean, obviously I prepared a bit and I played around with it yesterday and I got it to work. And
there's quite a lot of things that still need to be worked out.
Yeah. So it was quite a heavy onboarding process. So at the beginning, I was like, where's the call to action on this landing page? So I had to scroll up and down. And then I did step by step, and eventually I got some results. But I think, yes. So the question is, I see the problem. I mean, personally, I've gone through this. But at the same time, I'm also the moment playing around with Claude Cowork, and I have it run every morning. It goes on LinkedIn and goes to my startup investments and likes their posts and comments. And so why Or do you think your approach versus like a generic Claude Cowork, which will go and just, it knows my taste and will go through all the websites every morning? Will that be the route, or you think you can add more value than that? No.
I mean, I think that's a good question. If you have around 50,000 francs or euros to spare, then that's definitely a good solution, because you'll definitely run out of money before you get through 70,000 deeper analyzed properties. But the true idea is that, in a way, this idea was originated from the idea that an agent could do this, but an agent can't do this at scale, right? If you just think about the amount. And that's also, obviously, it's also one of the problems. And I think also that's one of the things that we were reworking, because our original solution was completely unscalable. And that's why we had to actually step back. And now there's a lot of backend refactoring, a lot of schema mismatches, to be fair, because we are doing a lot of things at once and figuring out because it's nice when you have a product that works for one user, and then one user does, let's say, one analysis just with HiQ for, let's say, 500 properties, and suddenly you spend $2 on one person. Then, you know, even if it was a subscription model, at what point do you go like, okay, can this even be freemium, or what exactly is the point here? So actually, that was why we originally also, and we still are in talks with a real estate agency, like a smaller real estate agency that is ready to pilot this, because the process that I just described is necessarily unique to one person looking for an apartment. A real estate agent in their earlier years will actually be going through these apartments step by step himself when they're looking for an apartment for their customers, right?
Okay. Yeah. I see. Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, maybe the cost there would matter less, because it can be borne by a company, and if it gives real returns, then that's fine as well. But I really like the idea of being able to make it scalable. And as you said, Claude Cowork works. I'm not sure what type of subscription model you have with Claude. I have the 200 bulk version. And I can tell you, so when I was using Claude normally just with HiQ agents, I managed to analyze about 100 properties in my session limit for 5 hours in about 4 minutes. And I was done. You know, I'm
Fair point.
A crafty guy. I'm quite a crafty guy. When I can avoid using API credits, I'll always route it through my Claude Code subscription. So
this will be also a topic popping up more and more. Just listen to this week's in startup yesterday, it was all about this. They even talk now, these models become more and more big and intense, and they said there will soon be a $2,000 monthly subscription. So then you go really into, well, you know, you replace a lot of human beings here, so you should actually pay $20,000-$30,000 a year kind of thing. But fair point. It wouldn't scale that way for now, and that's why you took this route. Yeah. Cool.
I have another question. Yeah.
There's just one more point I would like to add. So I worked with Maxim on this project, and one of the things we offer as well is that if you, for example, look at this from a perspective of a real estate agent who has 10 different clients, then what we can do is you can actually build 10 different profiles for each of your clients, and then test those profiles and implement it on these listings as an extension. And so where we are adding value is that based on different users and based on their different tastes, you can actually see their top 5 matches. And if you would, for example, want to try this with Claude Cowork, you wouldn't have to actually set up these different profiles. And then your extension feature, which you would have in this case, which we also want to expand to other websites, such as HomeGate as well. That is something that Claude Code would find a hard time doing.
Exactly. Just so, if you guys want to take this to the next level, really go out and test it in the real market. Don't think too much like technology will solve all these problems. Really go and because there's also the very simple thing. Zurich, for example, doesn't have enough supply. That's just a fact. No matter how smart the solution is, it doesn't have enough supply. Then you can help find the needle in the haystack, but a bit better, but it's still no supply. And so keep it very simple, but I would encourage you to push forward with this.
Of course, yeah. The technological aspects of it, once we make it scalable, I think it would be a nice idea to have. Sure.
Yeah.
Great. And I remember the setup, right? When you were sitting on the right end of the room, and then I was when we get an exchange about why you teamed up and so on. So I would love that you maybe share a sentence about your work, how you work together, and who worked together, and what was the motivation behind that team. I found that very, as a mother, I found it very great how you take care of the younger generation.
And I'd like to actually give the floor to Prakhar here, to be fair.
So actually, the thing was that myself, me, and another friend of mine, he's not here. He could not join the call because he actually has school right now. I myself have school right now. We're still in the 12th grade in high school. And I could thankfully get an absence from my teacher, and he let me join this call. But we were actually at ETH, and we met Maxim over there because he was actually giving a talk about the computer science degree. And it was basically a day where you could get information about the different degrees in order to know what you wanted to study later on. And we met him, we talked to him, and then a few months later, we actually saw this listing of the hackathon and we decided to join. Then we talked to Maxim about it. And it was amazing that we could actually build a team, the three of us. And that is exactly how we started. And the original idea about this whole real estate agent property finder was something that came from our other teammate's father. And what we initially wanted to actually tackle was actually also give insights for you to be able to see how investable the properties are, what the ROI metrics would be if you would invest in a certain property for retail investors. And but then we realized that a lot of data, transactional data in Switzerland was actually, it is not public like in the US. And it's very hard to compete against a lot of these statistical maths model companies that actually do proper modeling and evaluate a score and tell you how much the property will, for example, cost after 5 years, or how much rent you would be able to actually ask for from a user. And that is how we started. And then we worked on it. We met a few times as well. And that is how our journey looked like. Exactly.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks for sharing. So amazing. So thanks a lot. And for our participants and guests here, the team from HomeMatch won the APFi challenge. So they were one of the winner teams. So it was really great to see. And then I think we step over to the next team. Thanks a lot for presenting this again. And we now go to GoCalma Redact and hit the code. And they worked on a challenge from a Swiss startup called GoCalma. And I think we have Ben here and Abdel, right?
Yes.
And the stage is yours.
Very happy to be here. I think Abdel will be taking over for the first section.
Yeah, I'll start us off. Maybe first with the journey. So interestingly enough, we have a third member, Julia, who couldn't join today. She's doing some work, but we'll mention her right now. So she brought up this GenAI hackathon idea and the possibilities and the networking possibilities that we could gain as a company. So I was just about to take my PTO, and I went to the office. I spoke to Ben, and I said, I really don't want to take this PTO. I really still want to work. And he's like, oh, then there's a good idea. We can involve you in this hackathon, and we can get things done while you're on PTO. So I jumped on the bandwagon.
Not quite exactly how I said it, but
yeah, I do a lot of AI investigations and studying in my own time, so it's always nice to spend time on the latest and greatest technologies and what's coming up and what's new. We found the GoCalma challenge. I actually joined more than one of the calls for the challenges just to evaluate which one fits best for our criteria. I studied in the Fachhochschule Nordwestschweiz in Basel, where my bachelor degree specialty was cybersecurity. So the one that fit my competence at least was the GoCalma Redact challenge, or the GoCalma challenge. And yeah, I'll start us off with a big topic. So do you share sensitive data and documents? Maybe I'll share my screen as well. Where is the share again? Okay. Share screen is hidden. Okay, there it is. Okay. So this is the Hit the Code team. This on the right is Julia, who wasn't able to join. And here is the challenge we came up with. So do you upload contract information or tax reports to ChatGPT? I fell into this myself. I'm not a Swiss resident, so I get a lot of these very complex documents that I don't really understand, especially the tax one, being completely honest. So what I do is I send this to an open source model, ChatGPT, and I'm like, oh, can you explain what I have to do here, what I have to fill, which forms I have to take, what looks correct versus what doesn't. So when this challenge came up, I was like, actually, my personal information or my PII is always in some random server in America, usually in one of these models, and they can access it whenever. Of course, internally, you're like, oh, I'm just one user, so do they really care? Will they ever find this data? But we need to be more aware of our data. So just some metrics here. Europe saw around 335 breaches per day of PII. And this number was in 2023. So now with all of these changes and updates, this number only increased. Sharing documents anywhere means sharing your personal data. Cloud reductors work, but they are not safe as well. There's always one server that gains that data. So what we've built is a solution that makes you in control of your own data. So this is called GoCalma Redact. GoCalma is already the company. I think Alex is here, so welcome, Alex. And we called it GoCalma Redact, and we've added the redaction block on top of the eyes of the logo. So the tool has 100% local processing, so you are in control of your data fully locally. We have custom additions and removals of PII, which I'll show in a second. 7 redaction modes. This is just an enhancement feature, so you can highlight, redact, synthesize the data depending on how you want to consume it. Named entity detection plus an LLM pipeline. So it's very interesting to figure out this architecture versus other architecture, but we'll get into the challenges in a few minutes. And it's always reversible via your private key. So this data is encrypted until you use your private key to unlock it. So I'll take you through the application. As you can see, currently, this is a desktop application we built with Tauri. And on the left-hand side, we have the redact or deduct and how it works. So some of the pipeline items and the technologies we used for this implementation. So first, we'll take a image. So there are 2 types of PDFs that you would probably upload. One is a text-based PDF, and the second is a scanned PDF, so a PDF that's taken scan. So there are 2 options here, which this tool takes. One is either a text-based, which is simple, the text is already there on the PDF, or a scanned-based PDF. The one I uploaded right now is a scanned-based, so it goes through an OCR model called Surya, which is kind of a vision model that takes the PDF, scans it, and retrieves the text from that image. So as you can see here, the data or the PII that was evaluated was scanned. And what's very interesting, like I said, we can detect and remove our own PII. Scrolling down here, we have the entities table with the confidence rating. Now I can remove that Music Academy was not a PII, but the LLM somehow decided it was. I can also add custom reductions via text or via double clicking on the site, and I can confirm and apply redaction. Now, the private key is then generated and will be on my local machine, but I can also protect it with a password. As soon as I redact, I can download the PDF, download the key, and also for GDPR and HIPAA, they request an audit log of when this redaction happened and what data was redacted. Nothing private in the audit log, just some audited information. Now that this is deducted, let's redact another document, which is a regular, not a scanned document. So let me open my downloads and find my insurance policy. Or I can take actually, I'll take an insurance policy. Somewhere here, if I can find it. Insurance policy example redacted. This is already redacted. Okay, I'll take this document. So any documents you share can be redacted, and once they're redacted, you can download them and deduct. So this is a very short message. It found the name, and depending on how large the document is, it's going to take more time or less time. Now, once I come to the de-redact, I can choose which file. So 12 was the one we just did. So it also removes the title. This is a part of the redaction. And I can open it here. It was connected with key number 8. And we can choose the redaction. So we chose that the redaction is basically a permanent redaction. So we receive this JSON. Now we can match this JSON with the actual PDF to reverse the data. What you can also do is choose a version of this redaction which is not permanent, and you return back to the original PDF. So without flattening the PDF. Now, just to give some time to Ben to show us what we've built on the iOS side and the iOS application that's connected to this.
Yeah, thank you, Abdel. My part actually happened mostly during the hackathon on site. So Abdel already built this great desktop app that requires quite a large download. So the next discussion in our team was, how would people actually use this? And the obvious solution is people are using their mobile devices as much as possible. So we want to bring this to their mobile devices. And we came up with a prototype. The UX of this is not as great, so no, please be a little bit generous, Reto, on this, on how to do this.
No worries.
On iOS itself. And the really cool thing is that iOS has already built in a lot of things. Unfortunately, the simulator that I'm showing here does not have Apple Intelligence, but it has an integrated OCR scanning. It has an integrated NER to detect the things. So it works actually amazingly well already on this. So you saw I chose the document that I want to redact, and I can see here, of course, we have a little bit the small screen. We have the original, we have the redacted version, and you can scroll through it. So this is the original. And also here, we don't have the double click feature that we have in the regular app, but here you can just choose, okay, this email address, I don't want to redact it, so I will remove it, and I can choose exactly which entities I want to redact. What we did for this POC, all the original data is actually encrypted on the device in the PDF itself. As soon as I save it, there's some metadata put into the document which encrypts the information, and I can choose whether I want to encrypt it with a device key. So that's very easy to use. I can always recover the document, but only on this device, or I can set a custom password. So let me set here demo. Now it will need to when I click apply, it all gets encrypted. I can save this into my redacted folder. I can go to my home. In my files, I will see in my redacted folder here is the redacted document. Maybe one important thing, we realized we probably also should add some redaction for the barcodes, because we have no idea what they contain. So this is an additional feature that would need to be built. But you can see now in my files, I have the redacted document. There is, so the information, and that's also true for Abdel's solution, the original information is completely removed. This is not Epstein files where you just remove some black rectangles and you find the original text still below. So now I can come in here, click on unredact. Let me say I want to have a custom key. I put in my password, I choose the PDF, and here is the redacted file. And now we were able to restore the original.
Yeah, very nice. Ben, I have a question regarding challenges. I remember that I, as a jury member, saw one or two solutions where the PII wasn't removed totally, right? There was one name left somewhere, or one number, phone number or something. I can imagine this was one of the challenges to master, to really, grab all PII, or can you maybe share something about that?
So, that's maybe one of the biggest challenges, not the biggest, because you could always solve it with regex and obtain these items, but names or German names. I had an issue with someone called Charles Muster. So Charles was caught, but Muster was always a challenge because it was a Swiss name. So the solution we've tested so many named entity recognition models, and we came up with the BERT-based multilingual, which actually takes in German, Spanish, French, and Italian. And they actually catch the names and the locations as well. So Herzogenbuchsee was also a location that was so hard to determine via these NER models. And the truth is, NERs don't really understand context, which is why we've added in our pipeline an LLM recognition pipeline. So first, the NER model runs, it catches everything. If it didn't catch a few items, it goes into an LLM classifier. This classifies the document as insurance. So if the LLM knows that this document is insurance, you should have a policy number, you should have an address, a name, maybe even a few names of family insurance policies. And then all of this data goes into the LLM, and the LLM verifies and adds any extra data that it needs to. And that's why we've created this kind of pipeline. It does take longer than regularly just running the NER, because we do have other validation steps, but it makes the validation a lot more robust in catching these entities.
I played around with it yesterday. I mean, compliment. It's very well done, actually, and also very easy to use for an outsider. I'm not sure whether this is more a question for Hit the Code or actually GoCalma, who wants to take this further, because the devil is in the details, You will always have somewhere. I mean, yesterday I had the AVZ bill, and there's always something probably missing. And are you confident you can actually have sort of a 99.9% coverage, or would it be for for GoCalma not better to say, hey, we forget about the redaction and just have a safe, secure server in Switzerland and just upload it as is? Because it's very dangerous that users will end up being in a wrong confidence. They believe it's redacted, but somewhere you will always, because I think it's almost impossible unless you tell me now, no, if you train this enough, you show it enough example, it will eventually reach 100%. So that's...
Yeah, so
I
100%,
mean,
100% is a very challenging number to basically release out there, but it's not impossible. Now, training our models from scratch, and I can say with a lot of confidence that if you are focused on the Swiss market and just the Swiss entities, as in police numbers, AHV numbers, and you add those all in via regex, and then complement those regex with a NER that is well trained on Swiss data. And on addition, you add a very good model, which is an LLM that verifies the data and classifies it. So from an architecture perspective, you should be able to get it done. Of course, you might run into these difficult names or locations that are like, oh, this is a very complex name to catch. But that's why we added custom redactions. And in the world of AI, with all this beautiful vibe coding and everything, we still think that human in the loop should always be there, especially with your private data. And that's why we've added the double click and the custom entity edition. As a human, just go through your documents after the models has run. Maybe you find one thing, hopefully not. But with a very Swiss specific NER model and a small model LLM, you should be able to get.
So very narrow scope and where you actually, and just one question.
Reto, we have to.
Just ask, yeah, we have to move on. Okay.
Maybe later, because we have Onyx waiting. So thanks for sharing this project. And you won the second place of the overall GenAI Zürich Hackathon Award last week. So it was great to see. And now we move on to Onyx, and who solved a challenge from Siemens, from one of the hackathon partners. And Jose is with us, at least Jose, I know, maybe some other from the teams. Hi, Jose. Stage is yours. While he is looking for a spot to sit, I can share that he is already invited from Siemens. I think they will meet this or next week to talk about the solution, right, Jose? Can you hear us? Great. Okay, then I can take over, give over to you. Or maybe, Reto, you can ask the question from the team before. Then we have some time left.
I just wanted to know how many % of the redaction was done through regex, and how much was actually BERT at the end. Is it 90% regex or?
It's a bit less than that. It depends really on the document, but it's a good percentage. So it's around 60% regex, and then 30% NR, and maybe 10% LLM.
Yeah, which is a stable and reliable detection, basically, more than the BERT probably.
If you know what data to expect, you can easily find the regex patterns. So
okay, cool, thank you.
Okay, great. Jose, are you live? Yes, amazing.
Can you hear me? Can you watch the screen?
Yes, all good.
Perfect. So hi, our project is called Onyx. We were solving a challenge of Siemens. For this challenge, we use the combination of AI agent and normal architecture software development, like for example, Figma, Canvas, or any other solution that you can draw and make some designs. Why? Because this challenge was about taking files from AutoCAD or architect designs that normally are in a format on DFX or CAD or other formats, and take that files, bring to a software and create fire plans for safe plans in the buildings, and they was like the main challenge. So we take from there some aspects. The first one is we need to understand what we are getting from the file. So in this case, some cases there is the file and it's okay, the design, the architecture, all the rooms are good draw and everything. But in other cases, they also put like, imagine if you get an image in a PDF, but you don't have actually the draw of the building. So we also have to think about that. So we were thinking first on computing vision. So when you give something to the model is capable of understanding and getting to know all the picture or where is it located or whatever. And after that, we also have to create that vectors or create that draws and this states fire planes. So we use also other models of Gemini. All the AI we use here was Gemini. We use using Gemini Nano Banana 2, Gemini 3.1, and Gemini 3.1 Fast for making all the reasoning and the creation of the development. And at the last part, we was trying to use also VO3 to create the videos for the safe plans. So from here, we create agents, other two to make some part of the compliance. These agents take different tasks. I will show you in a moment. And what we want to do is we receive the code, we create the layers of the draw, like in Figma or any other solution. We trust the rules. We look up at the codes because the codes are the compliance. So we have to look at some things that have to be on the map or in these plans. We place the symbols because there are some symbols that we need to put. We submit and we iterate. So there is human in the loop. You check if everything is okay. It generates the new things. If you change something in the building, it also generates again specifically for that run. So I'm going to show you how it works. So this is our solution. Here we have a draw right now, but I will show you step by step in the beginning, but because it takes some time to make all these things. So when you come here, this is like a Figma canvas. You have to upload the file. I'm going to do the example in a moment. And when you come here, it generates something like this. This is like the output. But so let's do from the beginning. So you go to the application, you can sign in. And once you are in the platform, you will have your projects. And this is like the dashboard. So from here, you can create a new project. So when you create a new project, you have to put the name, description, the address. But this is like the hackathon. We just put something quickly to make it work. You have to upload the file. In this case, we use the FX format because for the WG, that was other format, we have to use a convert mode because we are creating like an algorithm to convert from this format to the other one, because there were some issues when the AI tried to gather the information and create all the rules in this case. So for now, we are using DSF. So you need a format of that file. So we have here. When you upload it, it is going to bring you to the canvas. And once in the canvas, you need to upload again the file. Here we do see pages. So once here, you upload again the file. And it's going to start creating. It triggered the actions. So first, it starts with the floor parts. It creates like the first diagram of the building, like now. It starts cleaning everything, and now you see there are not colors. There are just recognition that there is a room, there is a corridor or whatever. And after there is other agent, the same model Gemini, but other agent that is making the classification of the room. Making the classification, where is the tallest, where is something. So imagine if you are in the room 12, it is going to explain you how to get out from the building from that exactly room. But we need to first create all these safety escape, like plans to go out from the building. Then the AI is going to do that. And also it creates a 3D view because we want to create the 3D view of the building and creating like the videos of how to get out to show, for example, at the beginning of the conference, or if you have right now a meeting, when you start the meeting, the first thing you show is a video of 2-3 minutes that shows how to go out if something happened in the building. So this is it. So now it is working. It takes some time because the models have to get a lot of information and all these things. But when it's made that, I'm going to back to the other one for now. It classifies the rooms, it creates the compliance, and uses something like this. So if you click here, it is going to change the colors to blue of what you are selecting. And if you see there are colors that are green, yellow, pink, other colors. So all these are classifications of the different rules and this. And also the system create a 3D view. Let me check here if it's created here. It's working on that. It creates such a small 3D view of the plants, so we can do the other step that we are working right now. And the idea is to create now a collaboration module or feature that you can make this with the AI, but an expert can come, human in the loop, and check if something is okay or not. But also he can ask from here, this is the chat, he can change something. Just asking to the AI, like change the color, add this icon to this. They can choose something that we are working right now on this. So they can have context of part of the diagram, not all. But yeah. And yeah, that was like basically what we built, making computing vision. This is geometric, so you need to have all the angles of the sizes of everything. Everything has to be pixel perfect. Here it looks like small, but it has to have the same sizes of the real life buildings or all this. And yeah, so this is what we built. And just to let you know, here. So this will be like the workflow, like we want to build right now for the next steps. So you upload the file, and the agents watch on real time what is happening all around the building or all around the floor, because this is one floor of the building. You have to have all the floors. So that's why this takes a lot of time, but now it takes 20 minutes or 25 minutes, and after it will have other 20, 30, but then from 1 hour to 2, you will have all the plan for one floor, but you have to do that for all the building. You have to explore and detect the runs, so that is making by the canvas that is in 2D. After you can change to the 3D canvas. I will show you in a moment if it loads. After you have to spread the run simulation for 5. You have to review the compliance, make annotations of the safe shapes, because this is a compliance that it changed because of the country, but also because of the city. So the compliance for 5 safe planes are different from Zurich than from Lausanne or from Geneva. It's different. It's the same country, but they have some different rules and different things. It's a global compliance rule, but they have their own local implementation. You can also ask to the AI voice, because we want to brand this. So if you are a fireman and you go to the building, you can put your headphones, or you have like a wearable, and you can interact with the AI, selling, look, I'm here and I have to rescue someone in their floor. How can I get to there? So because we have now the plans, we can help this person, the fireman, to get there safely and also to get out safely. And also maybe if the person have a mobile or something, we can guide it to the outside of the building in a way. And the last part is making the export of these files in different formats, because this is a part of the team, but Siemens and all the partners that were around this, they have a lot of formats and different teams with different tasks. This is just one part of all the work they have to do with all this information. And yeah, that was our solution. So maybe I can share the screen.
Nice. It's a very nice B2B case. I also played around with it yesterday. I mean, it's for a non-expert in this field, it's a bit hard to get in, but for generally, this is the message to all the hackers out there. Always use a Google login. And in your case, I was probably spending around 20 minutes to find a plan I could upload. So always have example data to play with, when people want to test this. So it would have been nice, hey, upload, or just use our shiny, nice example. But so in a nutshell, so you help to analyze whether the rooms are very exposed to fire dangers and whether they are compliant with all the regulations, and so whether they need to change something. And that's the case, right? And
yes,
okay.
You also have to check the materials, if the materials are propensed to have a fire or something, so they can classify, depends on the risk, the different rooms. And you have to make all these, and after you have to create the safe plans. So you have to draw in the map like the roads and all this. And yeah, it's all about it. Yeah.
Okay.
The most stressful part is the compliance, because you have to put some icons, you have to classify exactly that. And also now you have sensors. So in all the buildings, you have sensors that detects fire or something. So you have to also classify that sensors. They go by colors, they go by different kinds of the of providers and all this. So it is all about it.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, I totally see the case and makes absolute sense. If you guys continue, don't get lost in too much what technology enables you to do nowadays. Just make it a bit more narrow. Take maybe just one part out of it and go very deep. Make sure it really has depth and works and is, not flaky, because you get into regulation topics and everything. You cannot have 98% okay or 95. It has to. So I would left and right leave things away and say, hey, for now, not a priority, but make this one thing really solid. And but it's a good case. And good luck with Siemens, your meetings you have. And
I was thinking, Jose, how much time did you spend during the 2 weeks online phase for it? Because it seems very complex, right? And I was just thinking, okay, how many hours?
So the complex part was the canvas. We use an open source library that is called ScaliDraw, but there are problems with this open source library, and is that we cannot draw some of our like personalized symbols or objects. So after that, we have to start using also other library that is called 3JS, because we have to give the vectors of everything of the geometrics to the model. So we have to choose a lot of libraries. We try different tools, and also we joined the hackathon little late, so we was running on time. But we have we spent almost 2 weeks, I think, building, and some nights, overnights and things. In the comments there are the proof. So the most stressful part was the canvas, because getting the file, and also at the beginning we have the other file, the DWA. So that gives us a lot of errors. We try and we say, but what is happening? And then after we read again the challenge, we read the challenge, and we say, we also can use this other format, that DFX. They want that to be stored on that format. So we try with that format. We search how actually the companies are working right now. So we make like a research with AI and models, looking for the competitors who are using right now the companies in Switzerland, in Germany, in UK for doing this. What is doing but now by manually. So we find some application for Microsoft, different tools. So thanks to that, we can get information on how it works right now, how they made the conversion of the files, how they draw that manually, how they make the human in the loop, and all the things. And then we can start doing our own canvas. And also the last in the in-person hackathon, the 2 days, we also make a lot of changes, because before of the hackathon in person, we was doing by ourselves. We used the information of the challenge. But when we went there was people from Siemens, and they gave feedback, and they also asked for other things, like, what if we do this? What if we make this? And then we want to improve that because we want to work. So we make some changes also in the in-person.
I see. Okay, I see. So thank you very much. So you won the 3rd place of the overall GenAI Zürich Hackathon, right, last week. So congrats again to that. And I hope you will have a fruitful meeting with Siemens then next week or so. So we are coming to an end. It's 10 o'clock, Reto. I think it was a great overview about from 3 of the top 10 finalist teams. There are 7 more. So if you would like to check them out, I think the team of the GenAI Zurich will put them on their website. Then you can have a look on that as well. Thanks again for joining. Wishing you successful next steps with your projects. And Reto, thanks for joining as well and helping a bit with comments and feedback. And hope to see you soon during one of
Great
our
job.
upcoming aiLights sessions. Have a
And
nice day.
congrats.
Yeah, congrats to all. Ciao. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.